Hey guys, it's ShadowR. Today I have 10 quick tips in order to improve your 1v1 game and start seeing some real progress with your rank. Most of the tips will help the way you think about the game and are more based around game sense than mechanics, so these can really apply to anyone. I've timestamped the guide into some general tips, as well as tips for offense and defense in case you want to skip ahead to some of your weaknesses. But in all honesty, I recommend watching every tip and trying to apply it to your game if you want to see some genuine improvement. But either way, let's get on to the video. For our first tip, we're going to go over kickoffs. Absolutely none of these tips matter at all if you constantly lose games because of kickoff goals. Having a strong kickoff is a sure way to tilt your opponent, and overall, just take some free wins. Practice all the kickoff positions until you're confident you can get a good 50 on the ball most of the time on kickoff. I've put 2 great kickoff guides in the top right corner of this video by professional players with elite 1v1 history, Scrubkilla and Fairy Peak. But here's a quick rundown of those tutorials. You always want to flip diagonally on every kickoff. It's even better if you know how to speed flip. This is the fastest way to get to the ball on kickoff, and you also want to make sure to save a small amount of boost when you're doing this. If you save a little boost and have an even kickoff with your opponent, you can attack the ball quickly, and if you lose it, you can recover much easier. A very easy thing to mess up on kickoff is where exactly you want to hit the ball. You always want to hit the ball in the dead center, both horizontally and vertically. The last thing to note about kickoffs is the decision making. Not every kickoff will work over and over again. You need to make decisions based off your opponent's position. You have to decide the direction you flip into the ball, if you want to force it forward, delay it, or even go for a fake kickoff for possession, as well as reacting to the fake kickoffs by your competition. The second tip is effective boost management. This is important in every game mode, but it's in another league when it comes to 1v1s. Being stranded with no boost stationary is just about the worst thing that can happen to you in a ones game. Try to pick up as much boost as you're using and learn the boost lanes, since small pads are the best way to keep your boost and balance your usage. It's also important to only use your boost when you need to, focusing on keeping speed with momentum instead. And whatever you do not go for boost over the ball. You always want to stay relative to the play, which brings us on to our third tip. Ball possession in 50s. It is really hard to get offensive opportunities or do anything when you clear the ball away when you really don't need to. All it's doing is giving away the ball to your opponent for a chance to score on you. When you see open space, keep possession of the ball. Even if you have little or no boost and your opponent is close, you can always play possession and force the ball into a 50. It's also a good thing to know how to take proper low 50s once you get into the higher ranks. The fourth tip is to stay grounded. Yes, I know you want to go for that crazy double tap or cross map air dribble off the wall, but as tempting as it is, you should always stay grounded as much as possible in 1v1s. This applies here more than any other game mode. This doesn't mean you can't take the ball into the air at all, but every time you go for one of these punishing plays, you should assume your opponent is going to immediately have a free ball or wide open net and score after the play is made. Because typically these air plays end up being an all or nothing. If you're up by a lot of goals and are confident, by all means go for it. But in those close neck and neck games, keeping your offense grounded is a much smarter play. Our first defensive tip is about shadow defense and fake challenges. If you know how to effectively shadow and read the play, your opponent will score significantly less goals on you. You should also be very familiar with fake challenges in 1v1s. Fake challenging to force your opponent to give the ball away to you is a game changer. Every possession play matters and can be the difference of you either scoring or conceding those extra goals. It's good to note that fake challenging at the wrong time though can also put you in a really bad position, which brings us on to our sixth tip. You should always take the easy challenges. It's very important to know how or when to take a challenge on defense. If your opponent is controlling the ball in their hood, they have a greater threat of putting it past you. If you're shadowing their dribble and you see a ball come off the hood of their car, the big threat is now gone. They only have one option now to place the ball past you, giving you a much easier challenge to take. This is the same with defending air plays. If you know your opponent has this flip, whether it's off a reset or a delay, they have a much greater threat of putting it past you. If you see them use their flip, that threat is now gone, resulting in a much easier challenge than before. Do not confuse this with challenging the ball too early though, because that usually doesn't go well when your opponent has full control over the ball. This is a big mistake that 2v2 and 3v3 players make. Our first offensive tip is to use space to your advantage. You need to use the space you have when controlling the ball. Like mentioned in the last tip, a lot of players will rush the ball too soon in ones. When this happens, you can easily cut the ball to the side of them instead of just playing it forward. This is such a successful way to score goals in every rank. Players usually only think about covering the area of the net they think you can immediately shoot, so quickly cutting the ball to the side of the field is such a great way to assure your opponent will just dive for the ball away from his net, leaving you with a wide open finish. Our eighth tip is about flicks and shooting. This may seem like an obvious one, but being really good at the fundamentals will take you a long way. Work on the different kinds of flicks you can do to maneuver the field and different shots you can take. Bounce dribbles into shots and cutting the ball while it's rolling are 2 very basic shots that are highly effective for 1v1 situations. They both have a very low risk and high reward. The ninth tip is bumps and air dribble bumps. If you've played a lot of 1v1, I'm sure you've been very frustrated at demos or bumps leaving the ball rolling right into your open net. Or typically seen in higher ranks, your opponent air dribbling the ball for you to challenge just for them to leave it and go full force at your car instead. It is extremely difficult to save when pulled off correctly, and that's why we see top players like Apparently Jack, the number 1 1v1 player on the leaderboards, be so good at pulling them off. It can also be very risky to go for these, since bumps and demos don't always go in your favor. And lastly, just for an extra tip, which is changing up your play. The highest level 1v1 players are amazing at being creative and always playing mind games with their opponents. Have you fake challenged your opponent for the last 3 defensive plays? Time to switch it up. Cut in the play quickly and catch them off guard. It's the last thing they're going to expect from you. Try the best you can to not be readable. So that's the guide to improve your 1v1 gameplay. Comment below if any of these tips helped you, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to respond to all the comments. Let me know if you want to see any other guides, whether it's mechanics or other game modes. A lot of tips included in this video really could have been full-length tutorials of their own. Thanks for watching, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future uploads. And I'll see you in the next video.